All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back for another episode live in person this week with my good friend Charlie here. Thanks for joining us tonight. We got 2 viewers already. That's great. Chef Life Live, I'm your host, Chef Alex Ottusch, and this is where I interview people in the food service industry, try to share their stories, give them a platform. Everyone's got a great story in the food service industry, so just trying to shed a little light outside of what you see on the Food Network, because most of that's not true anyway. So Charlie, thanks for being here.
You're very welcome.
Some drinks here. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's been really nice here in Chicago lately. Today was kind of rainy, but it's not freezing cold out anymore, which is really great.
I know, right?
Yeah. Somebody waved at us. Brendan waved. So nice. We're also live on Instagram right now for the first time ever, which is kind of cool. Oh, look, more people. They're waving. Sorry, I've never done that before. I've never gone live on Instagram, so this is kind of exciting. But all right, well, Charlie, why don't you tell us a little about yourself? Where you come from? What do you do? Who are you?
Well, it all started when I was about 9 or 10 years old, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go to the restaurants with my family, and my aunt would get so mad at me because I would smell my food.
Because you smell your food?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty normal.
I don't know. Like, whenever I would order a cheeseburger, I would go.
Yeah. Well,
and then she would be like, "No, that's just weird." So I would have to start paying her $1.
What?
Yeah. So don't worry. Later in life, she ended up
good.
giving me my money back.
Oh, that's good.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But
that's. I mean,
when I was 16,
who doesn't smell food?
No.
That seems. Anyways, continue.
Well, when I was 16, I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and as 16-year-old would do, I was like, okay, well, I really like food, and I am really good at math. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go to business school, or maybe I'll go to culinary school.
Yeah.
So I decided to go to a local restaurant in my hometown, and my parents were thinking I was going to become a dishwasher or something like that, and I became a line cook.
Man, right off the gate, didn't even have to start in the dish pit. I mean, that's usually where a lot of them start.
And me being a 16-year-old kid, not knowing anything, I did not negotiate a rate. So for the first month of me working that summer, I did not get paid, which is, when I look back of it, it's pretty illegal. That's
very illegal. Even for you not negotiating anything, that's just very...
I know,
that's
but
just really illegal.
I found some pretty cool people that I'm still friends with today.
Nice.
And I kind of fell in love with it. And so I decided to look at culinary schools. And I went to Johnson & Wales.
Okay.
Started in 2011, graduated in 2015 with my bachelor's degree in food service management. And something I really love the most about it is sustainability and how it's a big up and coming thing in the industry.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was something that I just poured my life, my senior year of college into. So it was super awesome.
That's really cool.
And then after that, I've just had some pretty cool experiences through my years. I've known a guy that basically, I would say, my mentor, and he has worked at a bunch of places downtown. He's worked at 16. I actually met him at the place that I started when I was 18 years old.
Nice.
The restaurant in my hometown. But as soon as I graduated, I lived down in Providence for a little while. Decided that was not the greatest thing, and then 24 hours I literally packed up my stuff and drove back to Chicago.
So where are you from originally?
So I'm from Chicago.
Okay.
So I'm from Lake Forest, which is 30 minutes north car drive.
Okay. Right, yeah.
And then I don't know, I've been doing most of my career in Chicago, which is nice. But the experiences of going to school out in the East Coast was really awesome. I mean, the fresh seafood, that was amazing.
I'm sure.
I would have to say, I've been up to Maine. If I could, I would move to Maine.
Really?
Because that is it. Have you ever been to Maine?
I haven't been to Maine. I haven't spent much time on the East Coast, other than being in Florida, which isn't like East Coast. It's just technically on the East Coast. I mean, it's, south.
But I would just like, when you have a lobster and you're in Chicago, you're
going to lose me on lobster. I don't like lobster. I cleaned enough of them. I think they're gross.
That's fair. That's fair.
I just don't. They're bottom feeders. I don't think they're that great. Crab, though, I can get down on some crab. I think that's good, but I don't do lobster. So you're from here, in Chicago, and then you went to Johnson & Wales, which is in Maine, right? Is that or no?
So it's in Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay, that's in Providence. Okay.
And
my mom's going live with us or something.
One of the coolest things about going to school in Providence, Rhode Island, is that the state is really small.
Yeah,
they're known for their quahogs, which is their clams.
Right.
So they get fried clams.
Family Guy.
Super good. All right. And there's a town in the southern part of Rhode Island, which is Newport.
Okay.
And if anybody's familiar with Newport, I mean, that place is just super, like, really bougie.
Yeah.
But the food and, like, the stories behind the town are amazing. And I've never had... You just can't replace seafood when you get on the East Coast.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, even being in Jacksonville, like where Jacksonville is, or like Mayport, is known for their shrimp. Red snapper is really good down there. I mean, it's more warm water, obviously, than like up north in Maine, because lobster is more of a cold water thing. So yeah, I mean, I definitely know what you mean with good seafood on the coast, obviously. And I know East Coast is known for their seafood. But if you're like some East Coasters, I won't name who you are, you don't like seafood, which is weird.
It's fair.
But so you come back to Chicago, and what's your goals when you were coming back? Like, what were you trying to do?
So I came back because when I was working in Providence, it was just a weird, like, gray area that I had in my job, and I just kind of wanted to find a place that, like, I had a connection to, like, my family, and a little bit more a connection to, like, the city that I kind of grew up in and kind of experienced.
Yeah.
And so I, as I said, I took that 24-hour window, drove back and started working for my good friend up in at Kemper Lakes Golf Club, which was interesting. I've never really worked at a country club before, but it was very interesting. He comes from a big restaurant background, and so the food he was making was restaurant quality. I was trying to make it trying to elevate it with him. Yeah, but people were loving it, but a lot of the other people that were a part of it didn't really understand that. They can't really understand. Yeah, when you talk about country clubs, like I worked at a country club, like a pretty well-known one in Jacksonville, and it's kind of the same thing because you have these people who have been members for years and years and years. So like they're not looking for the next elevated food trend. They just want what they've known and what they've come there for, which is basically just meat and potatoes. It's true. It's just what they want. The occasional whole fish. So we had a couple that would come into TPC all the time. They wanted the branzino. Like we always had to have branzino. They always got fingerling potatoes, I think asparagus, and like something else. But every time, and that's what they wanted. Didn't care what the specials were, nothing. Wait, we have a question. If you could be a shellfish, which would you be and why? That's from Instagram. For all of these watching on YouTube. Gosh, that is... If you could be a shellfish. If I could be a shellfish, I would... A crayfish is a shellfish, weirdly enough, and I love them.
You know what I learned from last week's episode? Scorpions are shellfish. Fun fact. Because the chef I had on last week is allergic to shellfish, and he did a Food Network show. And he had to do something with scorpions, and he had to make sure he wore gloves and everything because I think he said it's a shellfish or at least a crustacean of some kind. And I was like, that's crazy. That was crazy. So Food for thought.
And
So there you go.
And I would say
That's from Paul. You remember Paul?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would say crayfish. And to answer your second part of the question, why, is because they're just going about their business in rivers.
Yeah.
And enjoying life.
Plus they live in the South.
And they also taste good.
I don't know if I've had crawfish or crayfish, however you say it. I know I've had it. I can't remember. I know some people don't like them because they say they taste dirty because they just live in the mud.
It's true.
They're just bottom feeders, but catfish and all, lobster. People love that stuff.
Do you like mussels?
Oh, I love mussels. I know it's the same thing, but like mussels taste good. And lobster doesn't taste bad. I've had good lobster, but working at TPC, I had to clean so many of them. And when you cut open a freshly cooked that was just live lobster, they're disgusting. There's so much bile and disgustingness in their bodies, and it's just like, it's disgusting, and I don't want to eat it. I will say that the best part of a lobster are the knuckles, not the tail body. It's definitely the knuckles. That's really good.
I know, and I love making lobster bisque from shells.
Really? Oh my gosh. I don't care that much for that. Oh, we got another question. I think it's from your sister. What's your favorite meal and why? Mud bugs. See, my mom said mud bugs are crawfish. I'm assuming that's what you meant, Mom. But yeah.
So my favorite meal. So when people ask me what my favorite meal is, I would say I love scallops. It's one of my favorite things. I know
scallops is awesome.
It might be a generic answer, but there's only one way of making them, and people have made different types of ways. But like there's one, like, let me rephrase. There's one way of like you can't make them raw, and
you're wrong about that.
I don't really.
You're wrong about that. I was just about to say, like, you can totally like scallop. What am I trying to say? Like tartare, or like crudo is delicious. Or just like a very quick brush with a torch. Just get a little, but like it's pretty much still raw. That's delicious. If you get really good like fresh scallops, they're delicious. But I will say that the only other good way to do it is just a good sear with some brown butter.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's delicious. I love scallops. That's probably my favorite like seafood like across the board is like a really good scallop. It's delicious. So I'll agree with you there. But they definitely can be raw.
Fair. So like I would say a scallop, and then I would do some form of I know this sounds generic, but I love purees as much as they're used. I would love purees, and I love butter poached vegetables.
I mean, yeah, who wouldn't love butter poached vegetables?
I know, but I'm talking about like, I want some clarified butter.
Yeah.
I love my clarified butter.
Who doesn't?
And I love my Brussels sprouts.
Vegans. Brussels sprouts are good too. Brussels sprouts can be tricky because they can get, like, I personally feel, sorry, this is, David Wagner is my very first chief in the Navy. What did you teach me? About scallops? Chief? I don't remember that. I'm sorry. What was it? Brussels sprouts. I love them when they're like a really hard roast, when they're like really crispy. I feel like that's the best way to do Brussels sprouts. Like steamed is good and like poached is good too. But when they got that char on there, I feel like you can't beat Brussels sprouts with a really good char. That's just me.
That's fair.
But I mean, obviously anything poached in butter is going to be pretty tasty.
Yeah, what's your opinion on sous vide?
I love sous vide. I use sous vide all the time.
But what's your favorite thing at sous vide?
That's a tough one. I've done quite a few things sous vide and just like trying them out. Like I have a video on my YouTube channel. We sous vide pork butt for pulled pork, and it was some of the best pulled pork I've ever had. Like we smoked it first, and then we sous vide it, and it was absolutely incredible. I've done ribs sous vide, and they were really good.
Do you prefer any types of chips when you smoke your?
I can't really say I prefer a specific kind for smoking. I'm not like a true pit master or barbecue person. I mean, hickory's good. I don't have a favorite, I would say. But as far as sous vide goes, it's just great. It takes, it just takes, thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. Yeah, sous vide's great. I love doing it at home. It's really great for when I do private events for certain things, and it's just like another like team member. It's going to be consistent every time. You put something in there, you don't have to worry about it. It's going to come out okay, and I think it's great. I know there's people who are purists and think that it's the devil and they should do things the way things have always been done, but it's like anything. Like you progress with new techniques. You know, we're not doing the grand cuisine anymore. Like haute cuisine is almost out the door. Like we're progressing. We're, even farm to table, like that's a standard now. That's not even like that's a standard. I just think it's funny when people advertise farm to table and it's like, wait, you're not already doing that? It's like people want, that's like what going back to the sustainability of food. People now more than ever, I feel, want to know very specifically where their food's coming from and how I got to their table. So I definitely think that sous vide, just like anything else, just progression in cooking, and you can overuse it. There's definitely, you don't have to use sous vide for everything, but it's a helpful tool depending on what you're doing. Yeah. But so you come back to Chicago, you want to kind of stay true to who you are and your family and the area. Where did you go to? You said you were at the country club. What happened after the country club?
So because I was such good friends with my chef, we would basically kind of like bicker more and more all the time. And so I kind of was just like, you know what? I don't want to be up in the burbs anymore. I kind of want to experience the city life a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So went on a limb, didn't have a job, moved to the city.
Oh man, big scary city
with three of my friends, and I was just going, like, just applying to so many places. And I applied to Mott Street. I applied to Lula's Cafe because I wanted to work at somewhere that was notable, something that like would pop on my resume.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Mott Street was super awesome. It was an experience. It was something different. I've never experienced something like they did at Mott Street.
So you did work at Mott Street?
So I staged there for like 2-3 days. Okay. And like their setup was really cool, and then they just, I don't know, it just didn't work out. And then I went to Lula's Cafe, and when I staged at Lula's Cafe, I did not realize how big that kitchen is.
Really? It looks really tiny.
That whole basement is a prep area.
I didn't know they had a basement.
Storage area.
That didn't make sense.
Remarkable.
Yeah. I mean, I've only seen like a little bit of their line from like eating in there. Yeah. For everyone who's watching who doesn't know what a stage is, it's basically a working interview where new cooks come in, they kind of test your mettle, see if you fit in. Actually, it's really just free labor for the restaurant. They're just going to make you do a bunch of bullshit and tell you that it's a test, but it's really not, depending on where you're at. But most of the time it's that. I think your sister has another question. Sorry for getting really close to the camera because I have my phone in front for Instagram. What do you guys think about the future of the food industry post-COVID? That is a good question. It's, with the vaccine rolling out, and also speaking of COVID, Charlie is vaccinated. I just got a test recently. I'm negative, so we're okay being close. But either way, as far as the food industry goes, I think it's going to change it for the better in some ways. I think a lot of restaurant owners are realizing they don't need maybe the staff that they did. They can cut back on a lot of stuff to help their businesses be more sustainable. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see what'll happen.
Yeah, I mean, like the latter end of last year, right, is like, more and more talks of like the vaccine are going to come out and like the uncertainty. I feel like people are like, there's going to be years. Like they sounded like it was going to be like the apocalypse. Like the service industry is decimated and won't come back until 2025. And I'm like,
I've been
Maybe you might not have like what you had.
Yeah,
like
probably
2019.
Not. It's just been really interesting. I've been amazed at how restaurants have adapted to stay afloat.
Oh my gosh.
To do whatever they need to do, whether it's to go or
the ingenuity.
Like a lot of like Daisy's. Have you ever heard of Daisy's?
Yeah.
They set up a whole marketplace.
Yeah.
You know, because his brother owns a farm actually in Michigan, Frillman Farms. He has really awesome stuff. Shout out to Frillman Farms. You can get his stuff online. He makes trips to Chicago. Really great produce. He does eggs. It's really awesome. He's not paying me to say this. I just know his product. We used him at North Pond, and he has really great products. But yeah, they opened a market. A lot of I know Eugen in West Loop did that. They had like a whole little market you could go into to get to-go stuff, and yeah, it's been really incredible to see the restaurants survive. And unfortunately, there's been too many that didn't make it out.
It's true,
which is unfortunate. For Blackbird, for me, that was
oh my gosh,
that was a tough one.
That was one of the most incredible places.
Yeah, I'm still upset that they shut down. I'm happy that Chef Ryan is doing sandwiches now. I wanted him to do sandwiches, but it's a bummer that I don't get to. I would tell everyone about Blackbird. I was like, we got to go. When you come to town, we're going to Blackbird, and I can't even do that.
Or like, you think about like our friend Sam. Remember the culture boxes?
Yeah.
It's a whole business now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I wanted to get a hold of Sam. Actually, I want to try to get him on the show.
Oh yeah,
Sam, if you're watching on the show. Your sister has another question. Charlie, what notable chefs have you cooked with? It's a good question.
Oh my gosh.
Besides me.
Besides you.
I'm not notable.
I've actually had the pleasure of cooking for Charlie Trotter one time.
That's a big one.
That was pretty cool. And to see that kitchen is amazing.
What was that like, though? All I've heard is horror stories of working there. Like it
is demanding. All the people that work there, not to bash any people that have worked there, but it's a very big culture. I mean, it is food. It is food first.
Yeah. I mean,
food, people, they are there. That is their life.
Did they have 3 stars? Did they have 3 stars? They had to have stars.
They had stars. I think it was like 1 or 2. It could have been 3 after that.
I don't remember if they. I can't remember if Fellini was the first.
Since I listened to this book.
I don't remember if they were the first Michelin, or not the first Michelin restaurant, but the first 3-star, or if Alinea was. I don't remember. So if anyone's watching and they want to look that up, please let us know. But yeah, Charlie Trotter was like a legend in Chicago for the longest time until he kind of got in trouble for not paying his cooks and being a complete ass. But
that's true.
That comes with the territory, unfortunately, with a lot of chefs. I mean, he was brilliant. His food was really great. A lot of those type of people are assholes.
It's true.
But that's really cool, though, that you got to work there, or at least go there once, stage, whatever.
Stephanie's big one. Me and you.
Right. I mean, that's where Charlie and I'm at, working at a Little Go for Chef Stephanie Izard, who I also want to try to get on the show. But I know she's incredibly, incredibly busy all the time.
Well, she's opening up her place in
I know, LA. She's in LA right now, so it's like maybe
she's always on the move.
She's always on the move. She's never in. I don't think I could get her to sit down to talk for an entire hour. So maybe one day we'll talk about it. But so was that like the first full-time job you had with like a big name chef?
So yeah, that was the first to kind of back up for when I staged, when I was going through all my stages for a job. When I moved downtown, I staged at the private events up in at Little Goat.
Oh, okay.
And so I was, they thought I was really good, so I started working there a little bit. But they wanted me to, because they started going into the slow season, which is kind of fall, winter.
Yeah.
And that's how they asked me to be the sous chef, the prep sous down there at Little Goat. I mean, and then that's kind of where my experiences and learning from her kind of blew up.
Okay.
So I mean, she's an incredible person.
She really is. I mean, she's like not human.
I know.
Julie looks it up. Charlie Trotter had 2 stars. So thank you, Julie, for looking for that. So Alinea was the first 3-star in Chicago, but yeah, working for Stephanie it's really cool. It was. Did you know anything about her like before going there?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I did not. I'm so out of the like.
Like even being from Chicago, you didn't know who she was?
Like I knew of her, but I did not know her success until I started working with her.
Okay.
And like I've never actually met a chef owner who is so incredibly involved with their restaurants and has so many, but still makes the time to make it personal for you and to help you develop yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when I had Jeremy on a few weeks ago, and yeah, I mean, she just she's at every tasting every night.
Yeah.
And if she's never going home for service. She's always at one restaurant at least for service. I feel like most of the time she spent a lot of time at Girl on the Go, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she worked the line with us at Little Goat, which is really cool. I've never seen a head chef just jump on the line and work a fry station. Like she always worked the sandwich station. That was always her thing.
And then whenever she worked on the line at Little Goat, she always made it seem so flawless.
Yeah, she definitely put some people to shame. That's for sure.
I know she would be like, working in such like emotion.
Yeah.
And then everybody else would be like, with their hair on fire.
She was always very deliberate. Like, I wouldn't say
she moved with a purpose.
Yeah. And no offense, Stephanie, she wasn't the fastest on the line, but like, it was going to come out perfect.
Oh yeah.
Like there was no shortcuts. She's like, I'm going to take the time to butter this bread, to make sure it's toasted evenly and everything. So it's going out absolutely perfect. And that's how it should be for sure. And yeah, it was just, I definitely have never seen if I went and tell her like, hey, we had a cook call out and we don't have anyone to come on the line, we're going to be short. She'd be like, all right, well, I'll definitely be there. Excuse me. And that was really cool. And like, I didn't even know that much about Stephanie. I had seen her on Iron Chef Gauntlet when I was living in Jacksonville. Like I had no idea who she was. I was like, oh, she's from Chicago. That's cool. And I had I staged there when I first moved, and that was after I staged at Alinea. And I was like, it was really cool. I was like, I definitely like the vibe more because people were having fun. They were like smiling and joking. Alinea, everyone was just heads down, super stressed. It was an extremely stressful kitchen, and like going to Girl on the Go, it was just like, oh, people are just having fun here. Yeah. It was really great. I couldn't go at that time because I came to Chicago and I had to go to Alinea because that's just, I had to. But I ended up coming back, when Little Goat had an opening for a sous chef position. I was like, I'll see what happens. And, they took a chance on me. And even Stephanie said, like, she was only giving me 2 weeks. She's like, coming from like Michelin, usually Michelin chefs. And we had a few who came from top restaurants who came in and they did not last long because they couldn't adapt to what was happening with Little Go is, the food's not the same. Yeah. But it's like still the same amount of care that you should put into it, but they just didn't like the structure of it. And so we lost a lot of people, and that's what she thought was going to happen with me. And don't get me wrong, it was a tough transition. It was really hard.
Oh, yeah.
But it was great. My quality of life improved so much more working for her. I got time off. I didn't have to like feel bad about it. And so it was really nice.
I know, but you still walked around with those tweezers.
Tweezers are extremely handy on the line. All right. It's just like a spoon.
I know you mean it so practical.
They're more precise than like tongs are. And even if you have tongs, like they're just nice. They're just nice. And yeah, some of the dishes that I did, some of the specials I did a little ago, I did want to have a little flair and put my own little fine dining twist on it. That's what I wanted to do. But it's fine. I couldn't completely let go of it. Yes, Mom, I agree. She is an extremely confident chef. She knows what she's doing. She knows food. And I binge watched like one weekend or one of my days off. I just binge watched her Top Chef season, and I was like, man, like she sucked honestly at the like quick fire challenges. She never won. She was like so terrible. She always was in the bottom. But like on like the big main challenges, she crushed it every time. She was always on the winning team, and it's like So she was really great to work for.
Oh, wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So when after going to like Trotter's, you know, or even like the Country Club, which is I would say probably a little more fine dining than like Little Goat or the Goat restaurants are. Yeah. Like, did you like get that bug at all? Because I know when I was coming up, I was like, I gotta go Michelin. I want to be that very top. Thinking Michelin was the best when it's not. It can be depending on what you're having, but like it's not the best around. But some people want that. Like, was that something that you were trying to chase?
So the cuisines that like even when I started when I was in junior in high school, I started in fine dining basically. And I love that. I love the meticulous, like, you know, we're gonna do some cool flavors, we're gonna do some interesting things, we're gonna try to do some cool things going forward. Yeah. And I felt like Little Goat was something different. It was, you know, obviously it's not fine dining, and I was like, you know, I want that experience. And, you know, I was able to have so many really good, successful experiences there. But I was not going as, I didn't really have that niche to go fine dining initially when I was down there. Yeah. And, you know, I was at Little Goat for 4 years, which is a little bit longer than most chefs stay at one place.
You were there.
But I just
spend your time. That's a good thing though.
I just loved what I was doing. Even though, you know, there would be some, you know, there's some good days, there's some bad days, but in the end of the day, I was just like, you know, I'm doing some cool stuff, and it made me feel really proud of what I was doing. Right.
I mean, that's restaurant life, right? Murphy's Law is especially true in restaurants. When if something's gonna go wrong, it will, or whatever it actually is. And that's pretty much every day in a restaurant. Something's gonna go wrong.
Oh yeah.
Like nothing ever goes right. Especially with dishwashers. Always dishwasher call out.
That was just consistent.
That was very consistent, unfortunately. Well, your sister has another question. What's the weirdest thing you have ever eaten? That's a good question.
Oh, geez. That was actually, maybe, I think it was like crickets or... I'm trying to remember. Oh my gosh. I think it was crickets. It was like bugs. I've tried a few bugs, and it's just tastes like chicken.
Really? I was there's probably not much to them.
There's protein.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what they're for. I would say for me, it's either it'd be squirrel growing up, or it is squirrel, and that tastes like chicken too. Or I had smoked whale, which is like, it was not good. It was gross.
Oh, well, I have had ostrich.
Ostrich?
Yeah.
I've heard ostrich is good.
It's real lean.
Is it? I would think so. I mean, they're just muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question, though. So, obviously, what happened with you were at Little Goat for 4 years, but that stopped because of the pandemic.
Yeah. So back in last March, along with a bunch of other food service people, you know, the hospitality scene kind of went to a screeching halt. And so it was really good because I felt like, you know, as determined and how much time consuming, you know, the industry is, it was really nice to like, it was nice.
It was nice to have time off. Yeah.
It was nice to have a little bit of a time off and relax. Yeah. And kind of readjust and figure out what I wanted to do going forward. Yeah. Because, you know, I feel like when you're grinding day after day, it's kind of hard to go home and be like, okay, well, what am I going to do next? Yeah. What am I going to do next?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people in our position or industry were trying to figure that out of like, what do I do? Because for the most part, food service was always like, that was a safe bet. Yeah. People are always going to have to eat. You never.
Well, that's the thing. It's like,
we didn't ever think we'd have to worry about our jobs. Yeah. Like there's always going to be a restaurant. and then pandemic, and it's like, oh crap, like what are we gonna do? So I'm sure so many people freaked out. I know, like I was kind of freaking out. I had a restaurant like kind of lined up, and then that kept getting pushed back, and then they are opening now. I'm not going to be opening with them because I've been doing other things, but it was, yeah. I mean, it was like, yeah, what the hell are we going to do?
Well, like, for me, like I was like, okay, June rolled around, and I was like, okay, you know, people kept saying, oh, by this time things should be looking right. And so I started looking, and I was just like, okay, there's no jobs, no jobs, and then I started going on some stages.
Did you get furloughed?
Yeah, I got furloughed.
Okay, and then like, what happened with? Because I know with Stephanie, she has 4 restaurants in Chicago now, right?
Yeah, 4.
5 with Sugar Goat, I guess. That's not really a restaurant, but bakery. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she had to. I know Little Goat wasn't really on the docket to like open, or at least it was going to be scaled way back. So did you get laid off from being furloughed, or like what happened? Why were you asked to come back?
So back in like it was like July. I kept asking some other people that got furloughed with me, and she, you know, they just basically said that due to like how much money we're making, because they transitioned to meal kits. Yeah, right. Due to that, they had to cut about like 75% is what they told me of their staff.
Wow.
So, she, you know, I looked back at, like, at first I was like, oh my gosh, this is like really bad. But she actually, I was actually, you know, really happy that she kept the people that had children. Yeah. She kept those people. Yeah. And I was like, that's good, because, you know, those people need a little bit more support.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, and so it was a little bit devastating. But I kind of was just like, you know, this is my next, this is going to push me to like, what am I going to do next? Like,
yeah, definitely.
And so I kept looking after that. And it was very much like I applied to so many places, and some places were just like, oh, we're just not going to hire. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I was in the same boat. I applied through the summer, had to be over 100 places. And it was like Target, Starbucks, McDonald's, like anywhere. Even in the winter, I was like, they'd be, you know, stores be looking for seasonal help. I'm like, oh, great. Definitely get in there. They just need anybody. Nope. I was like, all right, well, luckily unemployment kept getting extended.
I know, it was nice. it was like super nice, but then I was just like, you know, I feel like there's a value of having a job though.
Yeah.
As much as it is, it's like, you know, it's nice to like have unemployment and like, you know, do the time, you know, it's nice to be able to like not really do that much. You can do whatever you want on the side, and then there's some financial help through this.
Yeah, definitely.
I was kind of like driven to like, I really wanted to work.
Yeah. See, I was kind of the other boat. I was like looking for that way of like, how can I work for myself? That's kind of like why I started the YouTube channel. Because I was like, not that I have a problem with having a boss, but it was like, I wanted to work for myself, and I wanted to work on what I wanted to work on. And any restaurant I've been in, even if I've been in a higher position, it's like, you know, it's not yours. No matter how far you move up, it's never going to be yours. And so like, it was kind of 2020, honestly, was kind of like, I don't want to say relieving, but it was very eye-opening of like, well, what can I do now? Like, what should I be doing? So it was really great. And I knew I needed to get back to work, because I was like, I didn't want to be on unemployment forever. But it was, you know, it was tough. Yeah, it was tough.
I mean, something that like came up when I was looking for jobs, I'm not sure if this happened for you, but like a lot of the places, like I would be like applying for a manager position, even if it was like, you know, a low like floor manager that's part-time or something like that. Whenever I went in, it would start with the manager position that you went in for, and it ended with, hey, well, we're actually looking for a part-time busser or part-time line cook. And I'm just like, this is...
But see, it's funny.
But like they were trying to get people in the door.
But that's what, like, I was actually applying for those jobs. Okay. I was like low-level line cook, dishwasher. I applied for like literally anything I saw come across. So I was like, whatever, I'll do it. I don't really care. I just need to make money, because I wanted to put money back into unemployment. So just in case something happened, but I still didn't get anything. I honestly think it was mainly because of my age. They knew I wasn't going to be there long. And they probably was like, well, he's got a lot of experience. He's older, so maybe he'd ask for more money. But really, it wasn't. I just wanted to. I was like, I just need to get a job. I just need something.
Fair.
So I'm gonna sidetrack here. Norris Gallagher. I don't know you, Mr. Gallagher. Do you know him?
That's my cousin.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't know. Favorite dish to prepare and why? Also, least favorite to prepare and why?
So, my favorite dish to make is sous vide red snapper with olive oil and crushed garlic. And weirdly enough, I really like pasta. I eat pasta like every day. So I like homemade ravioli.
Calories.
I like. Oh yeah. I like making homemade spaghetti, and then it's kind of whatever vegetable I'm feeling for that day is kind of like my favorite dish to make if I'm in a restaurant. And then my worst is pretty much whatever is like super labor intensive. Yeah. When a dish like could be a little bit more simple, but then it's like you're just overcomplicating it. Yeah, kind of like the pickles, the fried pickles and onions at Little Goat. Yeah, so delicious. That was so terrible to make. Like it wasn't labor intensive because I was just battering, but it was like one by one. Yes, you couldn't just do like a handful, throw it in. They weren't already breaded. Like it was battered individually, 14 pieces into one fryer. You couldn't use any other fryer. That was a nightmare. I did not like. I hated that. Making it was delicious. I loved eating it. I know those pickles and onions were good. They were really good. That curry mayo, that was good. That was good. I think about that curry mayo sometimes. Like that was a really good recipe for curry mayo, but yeah, fair. Very nice. And then your sister has a few questions. Is there any food you would struggle to cook? That's a good question. I don't know. That is a very hard question. That is. Because I guess you don't. I guess I'll try to simplify this if you're okay with this. Like, what food do you think you struggled with the most? Of like learning a new skill. Like, what was like just really hard for you to grasp? It was basically the temperatures. Was the hardest thing for me to grasp. For like steaks and stuff? For like steaks. Temperatures? Like, we'll be like, hey, I want like a medium well steak. And it's just like, people are like, you use, I mean, I've heard so many different things. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is medium. And I'm like, touching, I'm like, that doesn't feel. If you were, I'm assuming that happened in the country club because country clubs are known for steaks. Fillets on fillets. I know, right? Oh God. We, at TBC, it was New York, ribeye, and filet. Yeah. And I love a good New York and I love a good ribeye, but fillets are like, I've had a really good filet. One of the best fillets I ever had was here in Chicago at the Renaissance Hotels with my mom, and it was incredible. We showed up super late. It was just late at night. The restaurant was basically closing. We were those people, but there was like nowhere to go where the hotel was. We couldn't just go out, and they made me a filet and it had like a sweet potato hash brown underneath it. It was delicious, but I know, did you have the same thing? Like, I know when I worked at the country club, like I always use a thermometer. Yes. For steaks. But there were so many people that would be like, oh, you use a thermometer? Why aren't you just going by touch? Did you have that same kind of experience? I think that, I rather be, I want to be right with a thermometer than like, feel like, I don't know. I can do it by feel, but when like you're starting out, I would tell people this all the time. If I was training somebody, well, that's what they kept saying is that like, no, you have to figure it out. And well, it's just but like, how we're going to go through product then? Well, this is what I would teach cooks who were coming if they were taking over the grill station is like, use your thermometer at first, poke it, feel it, know the temperature, and then touch it. Make that assimilation in your mind. So it's like, all right, I know this temperature, then I know what it feels like. Because like, how else are you really going to know? Or you're just going to waste product because you're either going to overcook it. I mean, if you undercook it, it's not a big deal because you can just keep cooking it. But you're going to overcook it 9 times out of 10 because you're not going to know when to pull it off to let it rest.
And that was always a big thing of people were like, why are you using your, like the whole myth of like, if you stab a steak, all the juices come out. It's like, that's not how muscles work.
Yeah, that's not.
It's like, it's very silly. It's like, and so it's like, if you're starting out, just use a thermometer. It's not that big a deal. It's fine. Yeah, that's a decent one. It's a interesting one. Not that people like struggle with it, but like eggs.
Oh yeah.
Getting a properly made egg if you go out to eat is actually like kind of hard to find because people think eggs are just like the easiest thing, but they're not. To do them properly, like you need to know what you're doing. The proper temperature for an omelet is over easy, anything like that, and it's like, yeah. I mean, I've seen people mess up eggs all the time.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, scrambled.
Well, that's what you got to start on. You got to start on eggs and then work your way up.
Well, if you do go to culinary school, that's like a normal thing because that's very French is to learn. Even though the way they teach omelets is not French omelets, at least, pardon me, the way I was taught was not how French make omelets. It was kind of interesting. And like, there's the American omelet, and then there's a Japanese omelet, which I have yet to perfect. And then the French omelet, and there's just
I haven't tried the Japanese one, but those look pretty cool.
They look really cool, and I finally bought some of those like really big like cooking chopsticks, and I'm really excited. I really do want to try doing that like really nice like swirl with the eggs, but yeah, eggs are. I still struggle with eggs. Like I can make good eggs, but like to do them perfectly, like time and time and time again, it's definitely a skill set. It's tough.
It is.
Yeah, and I think I did a career day at Julie's nonprofit. And people are like, oh, well, all I can do is cook eggs. And it's like, that's good. Like, that's a great starting point. If you know how to make eggs, even scrambled eggs, like that should be a point of pride for people. Eggs are really hard to do. I agree about eggs. Thank you. Favorite Drew Kane catchphrase. I don't know any of his catchphrases. Do you know any of Drew's catchphrases? You remember Drew, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember any of his catchphrases.
Gobble, gobble, you know it?
Gobble, gobble. Yeah, that's right.
That's the big one.
That was the big one. Gobble, gobble. Well, if you're out there, Drew, hope you're doing well.
Or White Claws. The catchphrases that came up with White Claws.
I never heard those.
Oh, you didn't remember?
No.
Oh, you didn't hear those?
I don't think I heard those. I didn't work with Drew that much. Like he came to Little Goat for a little while, and because he was just going to be at Cabra, or he was supposed to open he did open the
Taqueria.
Is that so? That can't be going because they're not doing sports right now. Well, they are, but I'm sure that's not open. I don't know. But either way, so pandemic happened. Trying to find out what you're doing. What are you doing now?
So, I. Basically, for like with luck, I found a job. For some reason, I just decided I wanted to kind of look into like hospitals because I thought that might be a different food industry thing, and it's a different skill set. I've never worked in one. I've never really thought I would be working in one. Yeah, but I got a job as a sous chef at a like a small, like average, medium hospital down in like the South Shore. Okay. And it's different. It's a lot more relaxed, but it's pretty cool to like experience like you're like making food for people who are in a hospital, and you actually take pride a lot more in your food because it's just like, those people are like, I've actually had people rave that like, because we have to make low sodium eggs. Yeah. Also, FYI, there's no salt in any of the food that we have to make. So that was a big adjustment that I had to do.
Really? I thought that was like the whole thing with like hospital food is you had to over salt because it's usually a little bit older clientele who are in there and they can't taste anything, so you have to load it with salt. But really, no salt.
Well, that's why at first I was like, oh, I'm gonna taste this, and like, working for Stephanie, I mean, she wanted to have it really salt.
I mean,
so
if you thought Stephanie's bad, just man, if you would have went to a linear, that was just like anytime I went for something, it was just like handfuls. Then another one just for good luck. And then by the time I got to the last shot, I'd be like, this is too salty. I'm out.
So, I mean, it was a little bit of an adjustment, but like, you know, I feel like you have more and more people rave about your food, and, you know, it was like, you know, you actually get a lot more feedback, surprisingly enough, because because I did not know this until I started working there, that they actually pride themselves on like quality of their food, because they actually get ranked.
Oh, wow.
Nationally.
That's interesting. That's really cool. I mean, it makes sense that you would get good reviews, because a lot, you know, if you're in a hospital, it's not a great situation to be in if you're just,
I know,
for whatever reason, you're in a hospital for a long time.
It's true.
That stinks. And so if a good meal can really like turn things around, like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It's like getting a really great hug. It's like having this like great meal. And so like, obviously hospitals are not known for having really good food. I feel like that's been changing though. That's what they were telling us in culinary school. Like, people, you know, hospitals want better food because the patients want better food. Like nobody, you know, and so like that's good that you kind of have that people who really want it. A lot of times in restaurants, people are there because of the status of the restaurant or whatever the case may be, and you know, they're not really thinking about the effort that goes into actually making the food. So to get like actual good feedback and praise is like, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's really great. Especially if you're the one actually doing it versus like, you know, if you go to a restaurant with a big fancy name, you know, they're thinking, oh, this chef is so incredible, even though they're not the ones that actually cooked your food that is right in front of you.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, and that was one thing I definitely enjoyed about Little Goat, was of how their kitchen is kind of open, just because you can see into it. And the people who sit at the bar right up front, like you can hear them. They don't know that you can hear them half the time.
Oh, yeah.
They would be talking about the craziest stuff, but like, but yeah, I would hear them say like, oh, I don't know what to get, this or that. And I would like yell out and be like, get this. Like it's good. And like, it was always nice to be able to like kind of give those recommendations, especially when they did love it. There was a guy specifically, I remember, he was trying to decide between the patty melt or the tonkatsu. And I was like, get the tonkatsu.
Oh yeah. 100%.
I mean, not to downgrade the patty melt, because the patty melt's delicious, but it's like you can get a patty melt almost anywhere, but you cannot get a tonkatsu sandwich anywhere. And that thing was so good. I miss that sandwich.
Were you there when I had to go out and explain to those
I was supposed to go out, but we got slammed at the same time of needing to make like 13 okonomiyaki pancakes and the tonkatsus. And it was like right in the middle of a changeover, and they were like, yeah, you need to go explain it. And then like, I'm all over the line.
All I remember is that you guys came down, you're like,
and then I didn't even know that you went out there. Somebody was like, yeah, we just asked Charlie to go do it. I'm like, okay, because I just had no time to do it.
Yeah.
I was like,
I thought, I was just like, well, like, what am I going to have to say? And I was like, some of it was just like,
I didn't even know. I had to look stuff up. I'm like, I don't even know what okonomiyaki means. It basically means you can cook anything.
Well, luckily enough, I actually saw like I started watching street food. So I kind of had a little bit just of like, oh yeah, it's
I Googled
street food.
I was like, they were like, yeah, you need to come talk to these people about like what this food is. And like, I honestly don't know like really what it is. So I was like, oh, what does okonomiyaki mean? Like oki means cook and nomiyaki is like anything or something like that. And so, yeah, because it's street food. So it's like, it's made, and there's now that I know more about okonomiyaki, there's 2 different regions and they're completely different. And I can't remember the regions in Japan, but there's 2 different ways you can do an okonomiyaki pancake. And the one we did was better, I thought, than the other one. The other one's like layered, has like noodle. It's much bigger.
Oh, geez.
It's got like so many different layers of stuff. And then ours is, the one at Little Go was more like an actual pancake, but
nice.
It was really cool. Okay, I see you. Sorry, Instagram.
All right.
I'm not sure who that is, but thank you for watching. So you're working in the hospital now. What are your plans for the future then? You think this is a long-term thing? You trying to go back to the goats?
I haven't really taken a lot of time to like realize where I'm gonna go from here. But I kind of want to, like, like it's pretty cool, like what I'm doing there, and I'm learning a little bit of a different part of the industry that I know a lot of people have never really worked in the hospital.
Right.
But I eventually want to go back into the industry and try to do something that focus a lot more on like sustainability. Like I kind of want to get a little bit more in depth with it. I want to get a little bit more like, even if it's just like me being like helping with like sourcing and getting to know different farms
different
around
vendors
that.
and stuff, like
Yeah.
local vendors. Yeah, I mean that's.
But I don't know. It for right now, I'm uncertain of what the right time would be to go in.
Yeah, I mean, the industry, everything's a little uncertain right now. We're gonna, I feel like we're in a better place and we're headed in a better direction with the vaccine rolling out. I feel like there's more people who want it than don't, and I think that's going to be for the better. And so I think restaurants will get back to somewhat normalcy. And hopefully,
I just wonder like when, because I know like
I think it all depends on how we can get this. People just need to get the vaccine.
It's true.
That's just kind of it. People have to get the vaccine, and I don't know. I'm not trying to.
I know.
I don't want
uncertainty.
I'm not trying to advocate for anything. You do what you want to do. I'm scheduled. I got an appointment to get it next week, so I'm excited.
Nice.
I'm excited to get it and hopefully be part of the solution, not the problem.
Joe.
But no offense to if you don't want the vaccine, but
it's fair.
Just get it. It's fine. Your sister has another question full of questions. What's something you would say to a young chef coming up?
I would say have humility and be patient.
Patience is a good one. You're not going to be a rock star out of the gate. Take your time.
Trust me. Because when I worked at an experience that I had, I remember it was my sophomore year of culinary school. I had to get an internship, and I literally had nothing lined up, and I was like scrambling.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found something through the Publican.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Brian Houston.
Yeah.
He's doing some pretty cool stuff right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I went there and I found out that they had 3 other interns. And I'm just like, okay, I felt like I was just like the petty intern that they were just like, okay, well, we just want to make sure that we're accepting people. And so luckily enough, I actually didn't work in the Publican. I actually worked across the street at the Publican Quality Meats.
That's cool.
And then they told me that they've never had an intern there because of the heavy machinery that they use for cutting up different parts of the meat.
Yeah, like bandsaws and stuff.
But to see that operation, to see them break down a half of a cow,
that's cool.
Was unreal.
I'm sure. That's really cool. The whole butchery thing. To do like whole animal butchery like that. I mean, it's a half. It's not a whole cow, but still.
Sure.
Like that's really cool that they do that. I didn't even know for the longest time that they did all that stuff in the basement. Like I only learned it recently because Julie and I went there for lunch one day, and the bathroom's downstairs.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, this is where they do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, they really got like they were going. I was like, this is really cool.
Like that bacon that we got at Little Goat.
Yeah.
I saw how they make it, and that is an extensive process.
It better be for $8 a pound.
Oh my gosh! I mean, like they are. It is.
I mean, it was
really good.
Really good bacon, but man, that is expensive.
When I found it was $8.
It was $8 a pound.
Like, I mean, if you could justify it, but
yeah, if they're doing it correctly and it's really good bacon, you're not getting Oscar Mayer bacon or anything. No offense, Oscar Mayer. I've eaten your bacon. It's fine, but
the Sous chef there. He looked at me one day when I was leaving, and something that I try to ask every chef now before I leave, which I wasn't able to ask Steph, so that's something I'm going to try to get back to her eventually on.
I mean, just walk around the West Loop. You're bound to run into her. I've run into her like 3 times just being in the West Loop.
But I asked him, I'm like, what's one thing that you would say to me, like, for an up and coming chef like myself.
Mm-hmm.
And he said humility.
Yeah, that's fair.
He basically looked at me and said, you young people that want to be chefs, he's like, you guys don't have humility. You guys just want to be the best of the best right off the gate. And he's like, it takes time.
Just take time. I mean, there's something to say like, I want to be the best right away. Because I think you can have that mentality and still be humble and have humility, but still have that drive of like, I want to be the best, but I'm not going to screw anyone over. I'm going to do me and do what I have to do. I feel like we've all worked with that line cook or whatever who's out for themselves and they're doing whatever they can to get ahead, but they're very easy to spot.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
So, like, having humility, like, I would say any young cook that wants to come up, humility is a really great one, but read, Anthony Bourdain's book, Kitchen Confidentials. I don't know, I just blanked on that.
Good book.
Read that book.
Mm-hmm.
Just read that book, and it'll tell you pretty much everything you need to know, but 6 words, 7 words. I would say head down and shut the fuck up.
It's true.
Like when you go to a restaurant, you don't need to talk for a while. Just be shy, just do your work, be humble, and just do what they tell you to do. But observe. Just learn what they do. Learn. Take it all in. If they ask you a question, talk. If they ask your opinion, say it. But for the most part, head down, shut up, do your work. It's kind of what it is.
It's true.
Yeah.
And also another I forgot who told me, it was just like, if you ever want to open up your own restaurant, make sure that you mess with other people's money before you mess with your own. I know that sounds really bad, but someone said that to me and I kind of like.
It is. See, I can see that point, but I can't at the same time, because if you mess with somebody else's money, then you owe somebody else money.
No, I'm not saying wasting hundreds of dollars, but I'm just like, if you're going to try to do something that you think's a little bit out in left field, do it with someone else's money, like on the special or something like that. Just remember we did like that Indian stuff at Little Goat one time?
No.
Were you there?
Indian stuff? No, not really.
Oh, yeah, we had like an Indian dish that we ran the whole week and we only sold 2. That was interesting.
I don't remember. I mean, we did Thai curry for a special.
Did you do?
I did Thai curry. That sold like crazy.
Oh my gosh, people are loving that.
Yeah, green curry that sold like crazy. I don't remember doing anything like specifically Indian, but I mean, I know what you mean by that, and I can definitely agree. But at the same time, like, I'd rather be in it for myself and not having to worry about paying someone else back. Mm-hmm. You know, like if I go in on my dime and I lose it, and it's like it's all on me. But if I go on somebody else's dime and I fail, I still got to pay that money back. You know,
that's true.
I see both sides of it for sure. It's a tricky one, because obviously with any restaurant, you're opening anything in a food service, it's going to cost a lot of money. Most likely you're going to need somebody else's, unless you're already doing well. Let's see. What do you see changing in the kitchen post-COVID? I would say less cooks.
Yeah.
I feel like we ran into Stephanie a few weeks ago, and we asked her that, and she was like, yeah, I can run the kitchens on less people.
Oh yeah.
Which is like, it's good that they could save money that way, but also it's not for the people who need jobs.
That's true.
And so it's tough, but as far as what's changing specifically in the kitchen, I feel like it's going to go back to normal. Kitchens will stay the same.
I feel like there's going to be a different mentality. I feel like, they do meal kits. I feel like people are going to try to sell a little, like people are going to branch out on retail a little bit more to make up for some of that lost cost.
I think so too. Yeah. Also, I feel like restaurants are now going to have like that backup plan ready to go.
Oh yeah.
As like a just in case if something.
Delivery is your new best friend.
Like we're like, all right, we're good. We're setting up for delivery. We can do to go. Because like seeing that like Alinea did to go. Grant Hackett's never in his life dreamed he would do to go food ever.
I mean, you go there for an experience.
You do. And so he was like, well, why would he offer to go for a restaurant like that? And then as soon as COVID hit, he's like, well, we got to just go, which is great. And the food looked amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Why less cooks? I think it's just because they're realizing they can sustain on the less people they have. And I don't know if that might change as restrictions get less.
Well, do you think that they're going to try to keep more, like they're going to try to weed out the less quality cooks?
Possibly.
Do you think the interview process would be a little bit more extensive at that point?
I think it all depends on.
Because I know, like pre-COVID, it was just like bodies.
Right. Most restaurants, it's bodies. You just need bodies. Mm-hmm. And it depends on the restaurant. A lot of restaurants do have like really high turnover. So it's just like, you just need bodies in the door. I feel like restaurants are the culture is changing a little bit. There's not as many of those like truly dickhead chefs that people don't want to work for.
It's true.
I feel like people are coming around, like, we don't want to be tyrants. They want to be leaders, and people are sticking around for longer. But as far as maybe just restaurants are scaling back a little bit, and that could change if things ever open up back fully, then, if they're taking more reservations, then they're probably going to need more help. But from what I've heard from people, they're realizing, same with like office people. They're like, why should we pay for an office when everyone can obviously just work from home?
Well, that's what they were going to eventually do.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
So I think that it's just that mentality of realizing they're working right now with less cooks, so they probably can continue to do that in the future. Mm-hmm. That's my guess. Because, I mean, one of the biggest costs besides the food costs in restaurants is labor.
Oh, yeah.
You have to keep labor down. If you want to make any profit, labor and food costs are your two biggest ones.
40 hours, man.
That's why most places, like, they do not want you to work overtime. And then it's like, I know at Alinea, they tried to like get us to take breaks. It never lasted very long because it'd be like, well, I just need to do this. And then it would just kind of like snowball. Because it's like,
I know, right?
Because then we get yelled at for not having stuff done. But it's like, you made me like leave for half an hour. It's like, I have stuff to do. So
I know.
It's just interesting. Yeah. My mom said more outdoor dining, which I also think is going to happen. I think people will.
Or like the igloos.
But I also think people are going to work on like making sure they have that patio.
Oh, yeah.
Or the sidewalk space to be like, well, we got to have people out on the sidewalk just in case. Like, I think people are definitely going to, I think restaurant owners should just be more cautious as it comes up. All these good questions from Instagram. It's great. Does the front of the house feel safe in the current situation of COVID? Do you feel safe working currently? I can't really say specifically for front of house because I've never really worked front of house. I've worked like register and stuff, but like I've never been a server anywhere. So I can't really say how they feel.
Well, remember Max that we used to work with? Yeah. I keep in contact with him, and
he moved out of the city, right?
Yeah, he moved to Charlotte. And
okay.
He's doing bartending and serving right now, and
nice.
He kind of told me, to a grain of salt. He told me through his experiences that he feels safe, but it depends upon the place. I mean, some places are like, keep your mask on until your food is here, and then you can take it. Yeah, I think it definitely would be a restaurant to restaurant basis. I know like the coffee shop where I work right now, we all wear masks. There's a temperature that we're taking a temperature every day. And I know, my buddy Addison, he worked at Grow on the Go for a little while, and they had to have a fresh new mask every day. They couldn't bring their own. They had one that was given to them, so they knew it was clean. And so I think as far as front of house goes, I think it really would depend on the customer you were serving, because I've heard some horror stories about people coming in during COVID of like not wanting to wear a mask because it's whatever the excuses would be. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, I can't really say because I don't work front of house, but I mean, I feel like as long as you're washing your hands, and from everything we have learned about the virus, wearing a mask helps tremendously, and just washing your hands and keeping your distance. And I feel like if people are doing that, they should feel safe. And if they don't, then they should ask to not be working. Yeah.
So it's kind of tough, but let's see. Are you guys thinking someday you want to open your own restaurants?
You go first.
I fantasized about opening a restaurant for the longest time. I've had kind of a few. Before I joined the Navy, I inquired about a restaurant in my hometown. It was like it's a like an A&W like burger drive-in. It's not A&W, it's like a local place, and they were selling. And I did go talk to them about it. It didn't end up happening. And yeah, I've always thought about opening my own place. But every time like I really dig deep into it, it's just like it's so much money. It will eat up my entire life. I will have no time to do anything else. So it's like, do I want to make that commitment or not? It's all the time. Like for me, also, a lot of people say like, well, what food are you passionate about? And it's like, I don't feel I have a passion for any specific food. Lately, I love cooking Asian food. That was one thing I definitely credit Steph for. I was like, I love cooking Asian food now. Dumplings and noodles and everything. And so, but would I open in like an Asian style restaurant? I don't know. When I think of a restaurant, I think, well, what's going to make me money?
It's true.
Like I'm thinking like, all right, I see a restaurant for sale in a location. What would work there? Not what do I specifically want to do? What would make money for this location? And that's kind of my thing. But then do I have the passion for that cuisine to actually make it thrive? So I don't know. Maybe if the time's right.
I want to open up my own restaurant, but I just don't know what I want to do. I mean, I love Indian food. But I love breakfast as well.
Right? That's a breakfast place.
If I want to probably open up something like that does breakfast, but like, I don't want it to be. I want to do some creativity. I don't want you to come in and just know that like it's just going to be boom, boom, boom.
That's
boom.
tough though. I will tell you, because I will go to a breakfast place, and if I don't see like basic breakfast stuff on there, I get turned off because it's like sometimes that's exactly what you want. You don't want creativity.
I love my French toast.
Right.
I love my
but it's hard
pancakes.
sometimes because some people want to elevate breakfast to this like whole new thing, which is great because some people do want that when they go out for breakfast. But then if they don't offer those very basic things, like if I can't get eggs, toast, and bacon, it's like I don't really want to be here because you're not offering me those very basic things that you can do with the food you have. But you're not offering it. And so it's like breakfast places are kind of tricky in that sense. But I like the idea of a breakfast place because breakfast food is cheap. Eggs are cheap, cheese is cheap, flour's cheap.
It's true.
All that stuff's cheap. Bacons can be very expensive, as we know, but a lot of breakfast stuff is cheap. Sliced bread is cheap. Bacon bread's not that expensive, but either way. What's your favorite spots in the city for food these days?
Oh, geez.
I would say my favorite food spots in the city are still the same, whether they're open or not. I mean, there's plenty of places I still want to go to. We still go to Lonesome Rose, which is in Logan Square here. That's a really awesome like Tex-Mex taco place. Big Kids, which is a part of Lula's Cafe. If you haven't tried it, it's awesome. That's Chef Ryan's from Blackbird. That's his spot. I mean, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, and I mean, I'm getting married this summer, and we're also like buying a house and moving, so we're trying to save money so we don't go out to eat as much. But most of my favorite spots are still there, except for Blackbird is the one that like closed down. That's the biggest bummer.
Shout out to Shale when we lived down when I first moved to Chicago. We would go there. We lived near this place called Opart Chai, I believe. It was a Thai place, and this. I mean, like when you walked in, there was like they had their seats and everything set up. There was like no one in there. They did a lot of like Grubhub and like deliveries. So they were pretty much set for the times that we're in. But this Thai food was so good.
I do love Thai food and I love Indian. I love curries. Just period. And I used to just absolutely favor Thai curry, but lately I've been switching and I love now I think more Indian curry. I don't know why. Maybe it's just in the winter because Indian curry is like I think really great for winter, and I think Thai curry is more summery. But I actually have to ask you this because you love you love Indian food in the city. I've not ordered from an Indian restaurant here in Chicago if we've ordered something mild and it actually be mild. Everything I've ever ordered from an Indian restaurant in Chicago has always been hella spicy. Have you experienced the same thing?
Yeah, I mean,
it's great. I love spicy food, and I love spicy Indian food. But not everyone in our house does.
Little India?
No. Little India? Is that a restaurant or is that like a neighborhood?
Oh my gosh, what street is it on? It's up like north, like Edgewater, kind of like it's like right off of Damon. If you just take Damon all the way up, then you finally get to like
don't go that north, but
you go to all these Indian restaurants, and I went with one of my friends who was Indian. And that was
really good.
If you have to go where it is. If you try to find a place like in like around the heart of the city, you're not going to get something as much as what you really want.
I mean, I don't know Indian food that well to know like what's super good and what's not. A lot of the Indian food that we've had here has been delicious, but it's just none of it's been mild. Which makes sense because they don't really have mild food in India. It's all pretty spicy. I just think it's funny though because a lot of like in Michigan, a lot of the Indian foods you definitely can get a very mild curry or mild like butter chicken or something. But man, everything we've ever ordered has been just so spicy, and I love it because it's delicious. I'm not complaining, but I just think it's really funny. But
Devon.
Oh, that's the name of it.
Devon's the street.
Devon's the street.
All the Indian restaurants. Like the two Indian
in
restaurants.
Edgewater, Devon Street in Edgewater. I'll have to remember that because I do get a craving for Indian food every so often, especially naan bread. Wow, I love naan bread.
Oh my gosh,
some garlic naan bread is so good. But all right, we're about at an hour 17, so I guess we can kind of wrap it up here.
Okay,
I think we're good. Thank you everyone for watching, both on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're watching from. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I think it went really well. Yeah. I really enjoy doing the in-person interviews. I'm hoping to do more of them with more vaccinations and everything. It's just so much easier to talk and like really get a feel for your guys' story. So Charlie, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah.
In the future. Maybe we'll do let's do like a live like cook-off or something or something like that. I've been wanting to for that. That'll have to be the next thing I add to the channel is cooking challenges, live cooking challenges. That'd be interesting, but that'd be fun. Maybe once I move it into my new kitchen because I have really awesome design plans for it, so it's gonna look really cool on camera. But
I'm excited to see.
Yeah. All right. Well, Charlie, again, thanks. Really appreciate being here. Thank you all for watching. Hope you're staying safe out there. Get the vaccine. Let's get this over with so we can get back to some normalcy and see family and friends without masks and everything. So hope everyone has a good night. And we will see you. Oh, next week, almost forgot. Next week is actually a season finale. I'm going to take a few weeks off with the move and the wedding and everything. I'm going to get some more guests lined up. So I'm going to take a few weeks off to get everything straightened out. But next week, show's going to be on Friday, interviewing the host of the YouTube channel, Not Another Cooking Show. Very excited. He's kind of a big deal on YouTube. Pretty successful cooking channel. Check it out if you haven't. But yeah, going to be interviewing him. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, that'll be all. So hope everyone has a great night. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.